Welcome back. In this lecture, we'll explore Python collections. Almost on any type of application you might be creating, you are going to be working with some form of collection. Python supports different types of collections. In this lecture, we'll be looking at lists. To set up a list, you will use a square bracket. So this will make X an empty list. A list is a collection of items, and these items can be anything that you want. They can be strings, they can be numbers, float, booleans, or even lists. A list doesn't have to contain items of the same data type, and lists are mutable, which means that they can be updated. Okay, so let's have a look at the list method. Lists are like strings. They are zero indexed. For example, the fruits list have these items. To access the first item in the list, you type the list name and then open square brackets and type the index that you want. Fruits of 0 will refer to the first item. To add an item to the list, use the append method. To remove an item, use the remove method. Pop will remove the last element on the list. Sort will sort the list. Count will count the number of elements in a list. Index will return where this item is present in a list. You can reverse the list. You can modify the list. This will modify the item at index 0 and will give it the value of orange. You can join two lists by using a plus operator. To loop through a list, you simply use a for loop. For example, list X have this value, Y is an empty list. For I in X, this will iterate through each element of the list. So in the first iteration, I will have value of 1, 3, 5, and then 6. In each iteration, we will append the square of I to Y. So by the end of this loop, Y will have the square of each element of X. List comprehension provides another way to create lists, mostly to make the new list where each element in the list is the result of some operation applied to each member in another list. We will see this in more details on the lecture. So, for example, we will create a new list. This list will be based on applying function on an item. This item is the element of a list. Okay, so let's fire up our Jupyter notebook and start exploring lists. Welcome back. You can simply create an empty list by assigning a variables an empty square brackets like this. This will create an empty list. If we print type of fruits, it will equal to a list. To create a non-empty list, we will declare fruits will equal to apple, for example, orange, banana, kiwi, orange again, banana again. Okay, so fruits list will have the item that we declared above. If I want to add an item to the list, I can use append. So fruits append orange. If I printed fruits again, it will have orange appended at the end. Okay. Lists are indexed as strings, so we can use fruits 0 to get the first element. We can also use slice items from 2 to 4, for example. This will print items at position 2 and 3. 4 is not included. If we printed fruits from 3 to the end, this will work the same way as strings. To reverse a list, we can use also the same technique we used with strings. -1 will reverse the list order. As you can see, this is the original list, this is the reversed list. Okay. To get the length of the list, we will use len fruits. To get the items count in a list, we can use count. So we will use count and we will count orange, for example. To reverse a list, we can use fruits.reverse. If we printed fruits, we'll find it's the same as the reversed one. This is the original one. This is the reversed one. Okay. If we want to remove the last element, we can use fruits.pop. This had removed the last element. We can also sort a list. Let's print fruits. This had sorted the list. If I want to insert an item at a location, I'll use fruits.insert. I'll have to give it an index. I'll give it index 2, for example. And I'll put an apple. So fruits, it's now have an apple in the second location. If I wanted to have a copy of a list, so let's declare a variable fruits copy, and we will assign it fruits. This will not create a copy. It will create an alias. What I mean by alias is both these variables will point to the same list in memory. So if I change it fruits copy will be also changed. So let's have a look at this. So I'll append a new element to fruit. Now fruit will have a new item at the end. Let's check fruits copy. Fruits copy have the same elements as fruit. So as we said, just assigning a new variable a list will not copy it, it will create an alias. So how about if we wanted to make a complete copy, a full copy that we can change? Let's say that fruits copy 2 will equal to fruits dot copy. This will create a complete copy. So if I remove the last element of fruit, Now I remove the last element and fruit copy 2 will have the old values. Okay, so the other way to create a complete copy is fruits. Let's have a new variable called fruits3. We'll assign it fruit. This colon operator will mean that it will make a complete copy. Again, I'll append a new item to fruit. Append apple, fruits. Okay, to check if an item is in a list, you can use the in operator. For example, strawberry in fruit. So we can put it in an if-else statement if print good, else print not found. Okay, we said that we can combine two lists with the plus operator. So if we have two lists, 1, 2, 3 plus 3, 2, 5, this will combine the two lists. Okay, so let's try some loops with lists. For fruit in fruit, print fruit. This will print all the fruits in the list. Okay, how about the list comprehension that we have seen in the lecture? Okay, so first, let's write the same formula that we have wrote in the lecture to explain it. The new list equals to function of item for item in a list if condition of item. So let's try our first list comprehension. I'll say that item multiplied by 2 for item in range of 1 to 11. Range will return the numbers from 1 to 10. 11 is not included. Then, for each item in the range, I'll calculate item multiplied 2. The same result can be obtained with traditional for loops. So, let's first define an empty list. We will call it items. For item in range 1 to 11, items.append item multiply 2 and then return items. Can you see the similarity? This part, the same part here, and this part is the same calculation in here. So instead of writing it like this traditionally, this seems much neater. So let's have another example. I'll create an empty list called items for item in range 1 and 11 if item is divisible by 2 equals 0 items dot append item. Items. This had returned the even numbers starting from 1 to 10. So let's do the same thing by list comprehension. So I return item for item in range 1 to 11 if item is divisible by 2 equals 0. Okay, can you see the similarity? This looks much neater, but if you prefer to write it this way, there is no problem. Both will achieve the same task. Okay? So, how about if we have multiple conditions? I think you get it. It will be almost the same way. I'll copy this cell, paste it here. Let's have another condition that the item is divisible by 2 and the item is divisible by 4. And then here let's return the items. Okay, I think you can do this. Think about it for a second. Yes, this is true. You just add it in here. Okay, great. Let me show you 2 more examples. Okay, let's first write the for loop. I'll again declare an empty list. I'll call it items for item in range 1 and 11 if item is divisible by 2, 0 items dot append item and even, else items dot append item and odd. If you look carefully in here, you will see that we have declared an empty list. If the item is divisible by 2, we will add a list to the original list that contains item, which is the number, and even, else it will append item and odd. And let's return the items. So the items list will contain several other lists. They will have a number and if it's odd or even. Okay, let's do the same thing with list comprehension. So we will return item, comma, even if item is divisible by 2 equals 0, else item and odd for item in range of 1 and 11. Okay, if you prefer to do it this way, no problem. If you like this, then this is great. List comprehension and traditional for loops will provide the same result, but list comprehension is much neater way of writing code. Okay, one last thing. How about nested for loops? Can we have a list comprehension for nested for loops? Sure. Let's have an example. I'll create an empty list for I in range 1, 5, for j in range 1, 2, 5, items dot append I plus j, and then return items. So let's do the same thing with list comprehension. I plus j for I in range 1 to 5, for j in range 1 to 5. Okay, this is great. I think you have got the idea of list comprehension. If you prefer to work with list comprehension, this is great. This will make your code much compacted. If you prefer to work this way, it's fine. It will not make any difference. Okay, this will conclude our list comprehension lecture. Thank you for watching, and join me in the next lecture to continue with collections.